Hello, friends. Say, have you ever wished that there was a less boring way to serve and possibly die for your corporate overlords? Well, have I got the game for you. Armored Core is a fantastic game where you play as 621, a mercenary using the powers of artificially induced autism to pilot abominations of steel and fuel that can only legally be considered mechs. Join me on our quest to collect nicknames, interact with the locals, and most importantly, get paid, as I review the greatest mecha game ever. To briefly summarize the gameplay of Armored Core, and to go into a bit more detail, it's amazing. I've played many games that do their best to try to make the player use every tool and technique at their disposal to try to play the game in the coolest way possible. Armored Core takes this process and converts it into a white, powdery substance that they hook their player base on. Armored Cores, or ACs, are building-sized death mechs that serve as the apex predator of the battlefield, and boy does it come out in gameplay. Enemy units exist not to be obstacles, but instead to be dopamine buttons begging to be pushed. Speed and dynamic movement will be your weapon, second only to your weapons. Bullets, lasers, and missiles would be an issue if they could hit you. You're either able to outmaneuver all of them, or you've built a mech that simply doesn't care to. Whether it's just a basic helicopter or mapped-sized threats, everything on Rubicon will learn to fear the phrase, "Enemy attack! 1 AC!" Just as you fight fire with fire, the only real good way to counter an AC is with one of your own. AC fights can be a little hard to follow, especially if they aren't alone. This is why our protagonist canonically had a lobotomy in order to be able to keep up. With all of your movement and technology turned against you, you'll have to prove that you're more than just fancy footwork. The addictiveness and beauty of the gameplay loop lies in the simplicity of the missions. You're dropped into an area with an objective that someone has paid you to destroy, along with anything you encounter on your way to it. Good, clean fun. I just wanted a call sign of my own. Good, clean fun. Some missions will also have an occasional twist to spice it up, and often make me sad. If you're looking for more than just the sorties, you can also visit the arena, where you can face off one-on-one against some of the game's legendary pilots. No healing, no backup, just hot mech-on-mech action as you climb the ranks. If 1v1s against the computer aren't enough for you, there's also online PvP, to see what wacky shit the community has come up with. With all these things to do with a mech, the first thing you need to do is make it your own. The customization in this game is far too powerful to be trusted to the general public. Yet FromSoft is a cruel god and have unleashed it upon us all the same. The community has done horrible things with it, and I'm not much better. You can customize everything from your paint and decals down to the wear and tear of specific parts of your mech. If you're unsatisfied spreading the horrors that your degenerate mind has birthed to the enemies of the story, well, you're in luck, because you can share builds and decals to the community for others to suffer with. As much as I believe that drip does in fact make you play better, what also helps is actually using better parts on your mech. Your mech has 2 main weapons and 2 shoulder weapons, along with every part of the mech itself, giving you a variety of slots that are all at the mercy of whatever you decide to put in them. Some of my favorite ingenious designs that I've come up with include Fast, Goofy EN Shortfall, Missiles, and Double Zimmerman, my beloved. These are just a few mistakes that I came up with, but I'm sure you can think of some on your own. And speaking of things I think that you should personally try, the story. Though I have not known it for long, the story of Armored Core 6 is one of my favorites in the last few years. That being said, I'm not about to do a plot breakdown here, because I want you to try it out for yourself. I'm only bringing up the story here so I can praise some things about it. The simple summary of the story is that corporations are at war with rebels on the planet Rubicon. This is because corporations want a superfuel known as coral, and the rebels would like the corporations to stop killing them for it, and neither side wants to compromise. As a mercenary, you play all sides of the war. You'll kill anyone, for anyone, as long as there's someone to sign the check. Except if it's the feds. Nobody likes the feds, including the rebels, who want the same thing as the feds. Something that I love about the game is it features choices and multiple endings, which adds a lot of replayability when I should probably be doing something else. The game is also full of characters that I love and care about. Quite deeply, in fact. Walter, your handler. Carla, a woman whose house I broke into and then forced her to help me shoot myself out of a cannon. Ari, the bad bitch I pulled by being in that horrible workplace accident. V1 Freud, a guy who is only in the game for a single mission and establishes himself as a supreme gigachad before immediately dying. Fly high, king. And last, but certainly not least, V4 Rusty, the single best character in the game.
Counting on you, buddy.
Being that this game was originally made by the Japanese, it had to be dubbed over in English, which if you're a connoisseur of anime like myself, you'll know that it can be kinda rough sometimes. That being said, the voice actors absolutely killed it and delivered some of the coldest lines that have ever come out of my headset.
I won't miss.
Difficulty is often something a little controversial in this game, as the normal missions can be a cakewalk, and the bosses can be like getting your kidney stolen behind a convenience store in Romania. That is to say, unpleasant at times. Personally, I find the switch up to be a bit jarring at first, but overall are a welcome test of skill that will end up making you much better at the game. Bosses that took me several hours to beat on my first run will rarely even kill me on New Game Plus or further. Dealing with a boss you're stuck on will come down to one of two methods. The first of which is adaptation. When looking at death screens, which, trust me, you'll be doing a lot of, you'll notice that you have the option to go back to the assembly and change up your loadout before restarting from a checkpoint. This is a great feature that promotes experimentation to help you overcome a challenge, or recover from a very stupid mistake, like, say, hypothetically, for example, you brought vertical fired missiles to a boss fight that has a roof. Like an idiot. The second method, and the one that I personally prefer because I'm stupid, is just brute forcing your way through the boss and making your build work regardless of its flaws. Pulse guns would help me break through this guy's shield, but so will one of these shotgun shells, and eventually I'm gonna find out which one. Not every boss is just brute force either. I'm a particularly big fan of Gun 1 Michigan's fight, where he exploits your weakness of having limited ammo by throwing 60 of his men at you before and during his fight, forcing you to be tactical with your use of resources and take them out efficiently. And, I mean, you could try to ignore all of his guys, of course, but good luck with that, because this game functions off a lock-on system and it doesn't prioritize. Beginning the game as a new merc with no rep and even fewer bitches, you can really feel the progression as the corporations hire you begin to realize that you are in fact him. The decisions that you make in-game aren't arbitrary and have huge effects on the world, and you'll get different context for things that happen in other endings, building up the world in a really cool way and having good payoff for actually doing the other endings. Overall, this game's easily one of my top 10, maybe even top 5 games of all time. I started the game having never played an Armored Core game before and just being a FromSoft fan. I'd say the game definitely delivers on the level of quality that you've come to expect from a FromSoft game, but you also shouldn't go into it thinking it's Dark Souls. It's very much its own thing and deserves the courtesy of being experienced as its own thing. Right now I'm on my New Game Plus Plus run because you can only get the third ending on New Game Plus Plus, which is kind of badass seeing as there's 2 endings you can get before that. I'm definitely going to finish that run. I'm probably going to go through and S-rank everything. And it's even got me looking at trying to play older games of the series. You know, trying to find a decent... I mean, trying to buy the old consoles and physical copies of the game. Because emulation is a crime. And, you know, I respect the law. I think it's really cool that FromSoft just decided to resurrect this old series out of nowhere. And, you know, while we're doing that, FromSoft, hey, you guys had a game called Chrome Hounds that was on the Xbox 360. So, I mean, if we're bringing back really cool old mech games, like, I'm just saying, you got at least one copy from me. Overall, I highly recommend the game to anyone who has an interest in it and is okay with a little bit of challenge. I'm going to actually give this, like, a definitive, objective rating, like a new rating system. I haven't done that for anything else yet. And I'm not going to use numbers, because that's gay and cringe. Easy S rank, no questions. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a video to end seamlessly.